These are poems by Ogden Nash that are about animals, and he has a lot of them. And so for this round, I will be doing his poems about animals that are also about jokes that I have about the same animal. So I won't be doing the jokes, but there's a lot of animals. The oyster. The oyster's a confusing suitor, its mask and femme and even neuter. But whether husband, pal, or wife, it leads a painless sort of life. I'd like to be any oyster, say, in August, June, July, or May. The cow. The cow is of the bovine ilk. One it is moo, the other milk. The fish. The fish, when he's exposed to air, displays no trace of savoir faire, but in the sea regains his balance and exploits all his manly talents. The chastest of the vertebrates, he never even sees his mates, but when they've finished, he appears and okays all their bright ideas. The turtle. The turtle lives twixt plated decks, which practically conceal its sex. I think it's clever of the turtle, in such a fix, to be so fertile. The pig. The pig, if I am not mistaken, supplies us sausage, ham, and bacon. Let others say his heart is big. I call it stupid of the pig. The turkey. There is nothing more perky than a masculine turkey. When he struts with no ifs or buts. When his face is apoplectic, his harem grows hectic, and when he gobbles, their universe wobbles. The duck. Behold the duck, it does not cluck, a cluck it lacks, it quacks. It is specially fond of a puddle or pond. When it dines or sups, it bottoms ups. Here's a longer one. Locust lovers, attention. My attention has been recently focused upon the 17-year locust. This is the year when the 17-year locusts are here, which is the chief reason my attention has been focused upon the 17th year locust. Overhead, underfoot, they abound, and they have been 17 years in the ground. For 17 years, they were immune to politics and class war and capital taunts and labor taunts. And now they have come out like billions of insect debutantes, because they think that after such a long wait, why they are entitled to a rich and handsome mate. But like many another hopeful debutante, they have been hoaxed and hocus pocus, because all they get is another 17-year locust. Girl locusts don't make any noise, but you ought to hear the boys. Boy locusts don't eat, but it is very probable that they take a drink now and again, and not out of a spring or fountain. Because they certainly do put their heads together in the treetops and render sweet Adeline, and she'll be coming around the mountain. I, for one, get bewildered and go all hot and cold every time I look at a locust and realize that it is 17 years old. It is as fantastic as something out of H.G. Wells or Jules Verne or G.A. Henty to watch a creature that has been underground ever since it had shortly previous to 1920. Because locusts also get bewildered and go hot and cold because they naturally expected to find Jess Willard still the champion and Nita Naughty the vampion. And Woodrow Wilson on his way to Paris to promote the perpetually not yet but soon League in Washington under the thumb of Wayne B. Wheeler and the Anti-Saloon League. Indeed, I saw one locust which reminded me of a godmotherless Cinderella, because when it emerged from the ground, it was whistling Dardanella. Dear locust, my sympathy for you is intense, because by the time you get adjusted, you will be defunct, leaving nothing behind you but a lot of descendants who in turn will be defunct just as they get adjusted 17 years hence. The centipede. I objurgate the centipede, a bug we do not really need. At sleepy time he beats a path straight to the bedroom or the bath. You always wallop where he's not, or if he is, he makes a spot. The ant. The ant has made himself illustrious through constant industry industrious. So what? Would you be calm and placid if you were full of formic acid? The rooster. The rooster has a soul more bellicose than all your Ludendorffs and Jellicoes. His step is prouder than Davy Crockett's as he swaggers by with his hands in his pockets. The seagull. Hark to the whimper of the seagull. He weeps because he's not an eagle. Suppose you were, you silly seagull. Could you explain it to your she-gull? The egg. Let's think of eggs. They have no legs. Chickens come from eggs, but they have legs. The plot thickens. Eggs come from chickens, but have no legs under 'em. What a conundrum. The squirrel. A squirrel to some is a squirrel, to others a squirrel's a squirrel. Since freedom of speech is the birthright of each, I can only this fable unfurl. A virile young squirrel named Cyril, in an argument over a girl, was lambasted from here to the Tyrol by a churl of a squirrel named Earl. The porpoise. I kind of like the playful porpoise, a healthy mind and a healthy corpus. He and his cousin, the playful dolphin, why they like swimming like I like golfing. Creeps and crawls. The insect world appealed to Fob. I find the insect world macabre. In every heel of ants I see a governed glimpse of what shall be. And since in every web contriver, man's predecessor and survivor, someday perhaps my citronella will rank with Chamberlain's umbrella. The octopus. Tell me, O octopus, I begs, is those things arms or is they legs? I marvel at thee, octopus. If I were thou, I'd call me us. The fly. God in his wisdom made the fly, and then forgot to tell us why. The termite. Some primal termite knocked on wood and tasted it and found it good, and that is why your cousin May fell through the parlor floor today. The jellyfish. Who wants my jellyfish? I'm not silly fish. The eel. I don't mind eels, except as meals, and the way they feels. I happen to know. Hark to the locusts and their shrill armadas. Locusts aren't locusts, locusts are cicadas. To seals and circuses I travel on beelines. Seals aren't seals, seals are sea lions. I'm a buffalo hunter. Want to see my license? Buffaloes aren't buffaloes, buffaloes are bisons. I'm too old to be pedantically hocus-pocused. I'll stand on the buffalo, the seal, and the locust. The shark. How many scientists have written, the shark is gentle as a kitten. Yet this I know about the shark, his bite is worser than his bark. The mermaid. Say not the mermaid is a myth. I knew one once named Mrs. Smith. She stood while playing cards or knitting. Mermaids are not equipped for sitting. The gander. Be careful not to cross the gander, a bird composed of beak and dander. His heart is filled with prideful hate of all the world except his mate. And if the neighbors do not err, he's overfond of beating her. Is she happy? What's the use of trying to psychoanalyze a goose? The wasp. The wasp and all his numerous family I look upon as a major calamity. He throws open his nest with prodigality, but I distrust his waspality. The frog. The frog is slick, the frog is slippery. The frog's career is hoppity-hippery. He catches flies through hocus-pokery. His tights are green, his song is croakery. The little frog goes pinkle-tink, The big frog goes kerchunk, I think. The, am- the amoeba. I have no marriage problems, for I am an amoeba, and half of me is Romeo, and half the Queen of Sheba. When he me goes upon the town, she me does not sit up. When we are mad, we live as one, but when in love, we split up. That's a good amoeba poem. Pastoral. Two cows in a marsh, mildly munching, fodder harsh. Cow's mother, cow's daughter, mildly edging, brackish water. Mildly munching, wild heron, brackish minded, waits like Karen. Two cows, mildly mooing, no bull, nothing doing. Next, I thought that I would like to see the early world that used to be, that Macedonic mausoleum, the Natural History Museum. At midnight in the vasty hall, the fossils gathered for a ball. High above notices and bulletins loomed up the Mesozoic skeletons. Aroused by who knows what elixirs, they ground along like concrete mixers. They bowed and scraped in reptile pleasure, and then began to tread the measure. There were no drums or saxophones, but just the clatter of their bones, a rolling, rattling, carefree circus of mammoth polkas and mazurkas. Pterodactyls and brontosauruses sang ghostly prehistoric choruses. Amid the megalosauric wassail, I caught the eye of one small fossil. Cheer up, old man, he said and winked. It's kind of fun to be extinct. The caterpillar. I find among the poems of Schiller no mention of the caterpillar, nor can I find one anywhere in Petrarch or in Baudelaire. So here I sit in extra session to give my personal impression. The caterpillar, as it's called, is often hairy, seldom bald. It looks as if it never shaves, when as it walks in waves, and from the cradle to the chrysalis, it's utterly speechless, songless, whistleless. The squid. What happy appellations these of birds and beasts and companies, a shrewdness of apes, a sloth of bears, a skulk of foxes, a husk of hares, an exaltation 'tis of larks, and possibly a grin of sharks. But I declare a squirt of squid I should not like to be amid. The bachelor's claims that a cloud of sepia makes a splendid hiding place in leap year. Toward a better world I contribute my modest smidgen. I eat the squab. Oh, that was the end of the... Sorry. That was the squab. The praying mantis. From whence arrived the praying mantis? From outer space or lost Atlantis? I glimpse the grim green metal mug that masks this pseudo-saintly bug. Orthopterus, also carnivorous, and faintly whisper, Lord deliver us. The snark was a boojum was a prawn. Quote from the Times. A giant new prawn has been dredged up near Santiago, Chile. It is succulent and mysterious. The new prawn has not been named, a fact that is causing no concern in Chile. Could some descending escalator deposit me below the equator, I'd hunt me a quiet Chilean haunt, some Santiago restaurant. The fact I speak no Espanol would handicap me not at all, since any language would be aimless in ordering a tidbit nameless. I'd simply tie my napkin on and gesture like a giant prawn. Then served the dish for which I yearned, proceed to munch it unconcerned. Happy crustacean, anonymous prawn, from distant Latin waters drawn, hast thou in Yankee seas appeared, account executives would have cheered. Vice presidents and paroxysms, according thee multiple baptisms. Yeah, shouldst thou hit our markets now? Soon, prawn, wouldst thou be named, and how? I see the bright ideas drawn. Prano, Pronex, and Vitapron, and should upper bracket dreamers wake, squaba Neptune, and plankton steak. Small wonder thou headest for Santiago, where gourmets ignore such frantic farrago. That's exactly where I myself would have went if I had been mysterious, succulent, and undignified. The shrimp. A shrimp who sought his lady shrimp could catch no glimpse, not even a glint. At times, translucence is rather a nuisance. I like that one. The emmet. The emmet is an ant, archaic. The ant is just a pest, prosaic. The modern ant, when trod upon, exclaims, I'll be a son of a gun. Not so its ancestor, the emmet, which perished crying zounds, or damn it. All right. The whale. Behold the sulphur bottom whale, some 25 yards from nose to tail. I find it somewhat ludicrous, though, that whales are mammals just like us, and basking where the plankton teems, they dream their sweet cetacean dreams. One dreaming sulphur bottom chick and her maiden form bra met Moby Dick. All right. The python. The python has, and I fib no fibs, 318 pairs of ribs. In stating this, I place reliance on a seance with one who died for science. This figure is sworn to and attested. He counted them while being digested. The coelacanth. I don't have a joke about these, but it's an old fish. Consider now the coelacanth our only living fossil, persistent as the amaranth and status quo apostle. It jeers at fish unfossilized as intellectual snobs elite. Old coelacanth, so unrevised, it doesn't know it's obsolete. All right, last one. Tyrannosaurus rex. Tiny tots of either sex adore Tyrannosaurus rex. Indeed, all little ones adore any savage carnivore, of which, O Rex, thou rightly boastest. Thou art not only first, but mostest.